Hey guys, it's Al again. It's Monday. You know what that means. Time to talk a little politics. Alright guys, by the way, how'd you like the new intro? I'm trying a few new things. I'm trying to make this channel a little more appealing to people. Make it a little more fun to watch. I'm working on it. Let me know what you think. That's another thing you can mention in the comments below. But I'm getting a little off track. Today's topic. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know what to do today's political talk on. There's a lot going on, and I honestly could not make up my mind what to do it on. There's the tax bill, there's Roy Moore, there's the whole Jerusalem thing that just happened, and I just heard this morning apparently there was a bombing in Manhattan, which I haven't had a chance to really read up on yet. But I got home today and I saw a video on Secular Talk that had to do with some things the DNC is trying to do, and I thought, hey, usually, I come on this channel when I talk politics and I rant almost exclusively about Republicans. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the good and bad things that the DNC is trying to do with their primarying process. So, let's start with some of the not so good things. First of all, they're changing, or at least trying to change. I don't know if this officially went through or if they were just trying to do this. But they're trying to change it so that California, which gives the most number of votes and delegates in the primaries even, they're trying to make that so that it votes earlier. Now, what happens with that? Instead of where it used to be one of the last states to vote, if not the last state to vote. Well, you get into a situation like this past year with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and the establishment candidate, who has much more name recognition usually, much more money, and is much better known in general, a lot of times they can take those early states and they can coast on them, because let's be honest, a lot of people, unless you were a real political wonk, didn't know who Bernie Sanders was before this election, unless you lived in Vermont, where he's from. Political wonks, people in Vermont were the only people who knew who Bernie Sanders was. It wasn't until, well, into the process when he really started to gain steam, and now he is the most popular politician in the country, making it so that the largest state, where the most votes and delegates are going to come from, goes first in this process, is going to potentially give that establishment candidate an insane lead that may very well be near impossible to climb back out of. So I really don't like that. I think they should keep that how it is. They were also talking about making sure that the debate schedule is known before we even know who is going to be on the ticket. I don't know how I feel about that one. There's good sides to that, but still, when Tom Perez was doing it, it felt a little disingenuous, because they still were caught feeding questions to Hillary Clinton, the establishment candidate, in this situation to make her look better. So just making sure we know ahead of time, that still doesn't mean they aren't going to try to bury it. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm a little iffy there. They are making primary challengers now, or trying to make them, sign an agreement that says a few things. One is that they won't say anything in the primary that could damage the winning candidate's chance of winning in a general. Well, that's funny. It seems to me that when you're in a race with somebody, your idea is to make a case about why you would be a better pick than they are. And in doing so, aren't you kind of automatically going to be put in a spot where you're going to potentially, I don't know, make an argument against them? I mean, that's the whole thing. If you can't make an argument against somebody, how are you going to run a campaign against them? It makes zero sense. And here's the thing. Do you think they're going to hold somebody to that's an establishment candidate if they're going against a populace? I don't think so. I don't trust them. So that is fishy beyond belief to me. And we'll talk about what people get out of this in a second. But first I want to go through a couple more things in that agreement. Another thing is that they're trying to mandate that like 75% of the money raised by that candidate has to go towards TV ads. And TV ads, while still some people get their information from TV, they're becoming far less influential when it comes to this type of thing. Excuse me. It's, so the people that lost to Donald Trump, who was the most disliked candidate, I almost said hated, most disliked candidate in American history, are now still trying to tell candidates how to run effective campaigns, even though they obviously don't know how to run an effective campaign. Again, real fishy. Really, really fishy. Last thing on this front is they want to throw a unity party after the primaries. So what they're thinking, my assumption of what they're thinking is, the establishment candidate is obviously going to win. And that populist candidate, we're going to make them throw a big unity party to try to bring everybody together. And yeah, I'm sure that'll go over well. I'm sorry, I just don't see it going over very well. And it is a really funny thing to try to mandate. Really, just, you must unify behind our ideas. But again, do you think if a populist wins, are they going to unify behind them? I think if that happens, they're going to throw that rule out as fast as you can. As fast as you can throw something away from you. It'll be gone. It's not going to happen. But if a populist candidate loses somehow, they're going to make them stick to it. You can quote me on that. I bet I'm right. So what do candidates get that incentivize them to take this? Well, basically that if they don't sign this, they don't get any DNC help. They don't get any DNC funds. They don't get anybody to help with the processes. The people that know how to cross the T's and dot the I's for the campaign. You don't get that if you don't sign this agreement. That's what the DNC is doing, and that whole thing is just insanely fishy, if you ask me. Last thing, before I get into some potentially good things, is it wasn't all that long ago after Tom Perez was elected as the I believe he's the chairman. Is that the right? I'm off the top of my head here. I'm forgetting what his official title is. But when he was elected in, they took a vote about whether or not they should keep taking corporate money. Now, anybody who's listened to me talk about this knows I hate the fact that there's, millionaire, billionaire, corporate, union, any kind of money in the political system. I don't like PACs. I don't like super PACs. I don't like the fact that some rich douchebag can donate, thousands or millions or whatever the caps are between PACs and individual donations and basically buy votes and buy policies. I don't like this at all. The DNC voted on whether or not to keep taking that money or to just raise in small donations from individuals who might only be able to give $20. And of course, they voted to keep taking the corporate money. I don't like this at all. This is why I will rail to the end of my days against corporate Democrats. I still think they're typically better than Republicans, not in every case, but in most, but not by much. Not by much. Okay, that said, getting into something a little more recent, a little more positive. Recently, the Democratic Unity and Reform Commission finished a meeting. They finished drafting some new ideas for how to get people involved and how to make sure we don't run into any more debacles like having the two least popular candidates in American history running for president, i.e. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So what did they do? And they did some good things. They did some so-so things. Let's take a look at it. The first thing I want to talk about is that they're going to they want to require absentee voting and mandatory vote counts in caucuses. They didn't do this before. Now, since the United States doesn't have a holiday for voting day, not everybody can get to a caucus or get out to vote. So absentee voting would be great and potentially drive up the number of people voting. The more people that vote in any given primary or election, the better chance that the candidate that really really wants to represent the people will get in there instead of just some shill who bought a bunch of airtime and who bought a bunch of name recognition. Yeah, we all know who I'm talking about there. So again, this is great. I would personally like voting day just to be a national holiday, like Martin Luther King Day or Columbus Day or something like that. Other countries treat voting like that. We don't here. That kind of artificially drives down the vote, which is great for any establishment candidate on either side of the aisle. Because in order for a populace to win, people need to be able to get out to vote. And for a lot of people who are stuck at work all day or have 2 or 3 jobs, they can't do that. All right, so I really like this idea. And isn't it funny they didn't have mandatory vote counts at caucuses before? They just kind of did a head count, from what I understand, of caucuses. And if anybody remembers this last election, there were a lot of funny tricks being played with the caucus counts that favored Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Just saying. Okay, moving on. Again, I keep saying moving on. I gotta work on my transitions. But they also want same-day party and voter registration in the states and in the primaries. Now, here's the thing is that the DNC doesn't actually control this, so they can't really proclaim it to be so, but they can incentivize people to do this. They can incentivize the states by docking their delegate counts if they don't do it. So, again, I'm all in favor of this. There were plenty of cases this last year, again, where somebody in a state like, say, New York, where you had to change your party registration 6 months ahead of time, and keep in mind, 6 months before, people didn't even know who Bernie was. They couldn't go vote for him in the primary, even though they would have loved to. So, this is another good thing. I really like this. I hope this gets through. Next thing on their list is they want to create a council, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of the council. It starts with an O, I think. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's a long, weird word. Not going to go there. But they want to create a council that's supposed to impartially review any complaints and recommend improvements around things like fairness, neutrality, transparency in the party. And again, this is a thing that was huge in the last election that they had a lot of issues with. Not going to relitigate the whole Bernie Sanders thing. It's just the most recent example I can give. I'm saying I'm a lot too. I got to work on that. You see, I just hit these and I go. I don't do a bunch of takes and I don't rehearse it. This is just me speaking largely off the top of my head with a few notes. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So they want to create a council to try to make sure this didn't happen. And again, this is a good thing. Hopefully they actually stay impartial. That's my only issue with it. If they don't stay impartial, we're going to get more issues like we had before. And they're just going to say, oh, no. You know, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, we're being fair. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So hopefully they can stay impartial, and that would be great. Because there were things like we didn't know where the DNC money was going. We had no idea. None. So this, hopefully, will address that, which would be great. All right, and the last thing, one of the big ones, if you ask me, is they want to reduce the number of superdelegates by 60%, and they want to make sure the remaining superdelegates have to vote with their states. Now, this is one, I think it's a nice measure. I don't think it goes far enough, because superdelegates, by their nature, I'm using nature a lot now, by their nature are just not democratic at all. I remember seeing things like for every one superdelegate's vote is worth something like 10,000. I don't remember the exact number, but it was some insane number. Like one superdelegate's vote is worth so many thousand votes of anybody else because they have that much power. And they were one big fear that if Bernie could catch up, the superdelegates would still go for Hillary, and that kind of proved to be the case because they kept saying, no, all but like two of them said, nope, we're voting for Hillary. Doesn't matter how my state voted. You know, Michigan went for Bernie. Michigan superdelegate said, don't care. So I think it's good that they're reducing them. I think it's okay that it's good that they're making them vote with their state. But why not just get rid of them altogether? Just nix them. You don't need them. Republicans don't even have superdelegates. And that's something I'll give the Republicans credit for. That is much more democratic than the whole superdelegate thing. I don't know that the superdelegates have actually ever come into play, but, you know, we don't want them to. So again, not democratic. I say just do away from them altogether. This is a nice first step, but they need to be gone. Now, with all of these rule changes, are these just going to take effect overnight? Unfortunately, no. There's a process that's got to go through. The Democratic Unity and Reform Commission is now going to send these to, I believe it's the Bylaws Council or Committee. I forget if it's a council or a committee, but it's going to send it to them. And the Bylaws Committee they can make suggestions, and they will send it back to the Unity and Reform Commission. Now, I'm a little worried that they're going to take these and they're going to dumb them down or just nix some of them altogether. We'll see how that goes. But after the Bylaws Committee sends this back to the Unity and Reform Commission, the Unity and Reform Commission, I've got to take my time with my words, the Unity and Reform Commission has the choice of either accepting or rejecting it. Now, if they reject it, I don't know if it goes back to the Bylaws Committee, or I don't exactly know what happens there. I'll freely admit that. If anybody knows, comment below. I'd really like to know this. But if they accept it, then it goes to the DNC as a whole, and the DNC gets to vote on whether or not to adopt these rules. Now again, this is the same DNC that voted to keep taking corporate money. So I'm not 100% sure that I even trust them to implement these. I don't know. Hopefully it works out. I tend to agree with Kyle from Secular Talk that the real hurdle here is going to be getting it through the DNC vote, because a lot of them I don't think are going to like these type of reforms. But we'll see. I would love to be proven wrong on this, and that the bylaws committee doesn't make any changes, or maybe just says, well, then why are we keeping super delegates at all? Let's do away with them. I would love to see that happen. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it does happen. I don't think it will. And then the DNC votes it all in. Again, I'd love to see that. Don't think it'll happen quite that way. But prove me wrong, DNC. Please. 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 All right. Thank you for watching. I've been prattling on now according to my time counter for about 20 minutes. So I will let y'all go. Thank you for anybody who's stuck with me through this ramble. These Mondays are basically just a way for me to get the political blah out of my head because I listen to so much of this stuff all week and I need to vent it in some fashion. Otherwise, I'll be like screaming at my wall. And I'll turn into that crotchety old man in a couple of years who's just ranting about this stuff. So thank you for listening. Again, let me know what you think of the intro. I'm trying to make this channel a little more appealing. Hopefully people like what I have to do. So that's my political rant for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to tune back in Wednesday, I'll be posting the final part of my playthrough of the Resident Evil remake. I did a run through as Jill on the gaming part of my channel. I'll be posting the final section of that on Wednesday. Sorry about the abrupt cut there, guys. I got a phone call from work I had to take. Anyway, again, thanks for watching. Feel free to check out the gaming side of my channel. Don't like the politics but like gaming? Head on over there. Check me out on Wednesdays. Again, finishing off a playthrough of Resident Evil that I started for Halloween. I'm going to finish off Mega Man 6 after that. Not sure where I'm going to go from there. Maybe I go to another Mega Man game. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I decide to do. I don't know what it's going to be yet. One thing I'd really like to do once I can get a capture card that'll do it, or find a way to do it, is I've got the PS4, SD Gundam G Generations I'd like to do some gameplay of. I've got Super Robot Warriors 5 I'd like to show some gameplay of. So I've got Gundam Versus. Again, I'd love to show some gameplay of that. I love Gundam. Speaking of, I am also working on a video related to Gundam. It's one of my favorite animes. We'll talk about that another time. I've rambled on far too long. Thank you again. Have a good night.